Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom, I'm David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman for the National Public Diplomacy Directorate here in the Office of the Prime Minister. Questions in the chat, please, which we will take after a quick update from me on this Tuesday, the 1st of October, day 361 of the October 7th war. Let's start with an update from the north. This morning at around 11 a.m., central Israel, including Tel Aviv, was targeted with missiles and rockets from Lebanon. Some were intercepted, but not all. Since the day after the October 7th massacre, Hezbollah decided to fire rockets on us. 10,000 rockets, missiles, UAVs into Israel. I don't even mention the Hezbollah rocket fire that has fallen short back into Lebanon. So as with the attack this morning, millions of our people ran into bomb shelters. One of those millions was actually my daughter in her school with her classmates and her teachers. She ran into the school bomb shelter. In the last year, dozens of our civilians and soldiers have been killed by Hezbollah. So you will have seen the news that last night IDF forces began a limited ground operation in southern Lebanon to neutralize Hezbollah targets and infrastructure that threaten our north. Much of the media has described this as an escalation, but let's be accurate here. The escalation started on October the 8th. Hezbollah has escalated every day since then. Hezbollah has forced more than 60,000 Israelis to evacuate their homes for a year now. Israel is a very small country, about the size of Wales or New Jersey in the US. Just imagine for a moment a terror army making almost a quarter of your country uninhabitable. Thousands of rockets raining down every day for a year. This is an intolerable reality. No country would accept it, and Israel is no different. Our forces fight to defend our homeland. They fight with the support of our people, and when you ask our soldiers, they say the same thing. They fight for humanity. Now, media almost never asks Hezbollah why they fight. Is this a territorial dispute? No. There's no territorial dispute with Lebanon. The border is precisely where the UN wants it to be. It's called the Blue Line. Is this fight for the Palestinians in Gaza? No. Palestinians have never been given citizenship in Lebanon. Hezbollah, the Iranian proxy, fights to destroy our country. They fight to kill Jews. They fight to kill Israelis. They fight under the orders of Iran to eradicate this country. Now, for many years, Hezbollah has built terror strongholds in southern Lebanon, right up against our border, sometimes meters away from our communities. I've seen them with my own very eyes, just over the border fence. As we have exposed just in the last few minutes, and also in recent weeks, three important points. Number one, Hezbollah turned Lebanese villages in southern Lebanon into military bases. Number two, Hezbollah stored weapons, advanced weapons like surface-to-surface missiles, dug underground tunnels, and laid the groundwork for a plan to invade northern Israeli communities. And number three, Hezbollah was prepared to use these villages as launch pads for an October 7th style invasion into Israeli homes. We've exposed that just today with footage. This plan had a name. It was called Conquer the Galilee Plan. This wasn't theoretical, this was real. Hezbollah senior leaders gathered 2 weeks ago in Beirut to set it into action. We will not let October 7th happen again. Not on any one of our borders. The Prime Minister has been crystal clear. Hezbollah bases inside Lebanese southern communities pose a clear and direct threat to our people. They are a blatant violation of United Nations Security Council resolutions 1559 and 1701, which forbids non-government forces south of the Litani River. Indeed, let me quote to you 1701, chapter and verse. So I quote, "The establishment between the Blue Line and the Litani River of an area free of any armed personnel, assets and weapons other than those of the government of Lebanon and UNIFIL as authorized in paragraph 11 deployed in this area." The Prime Minister has made clear that our goal is crystal clear: to remove these threats to our people, to get our people back into their homes. In Lebanon, Israel's action is limited, targeted, and localized. Let me say that again. It's limited, targeted, and localized. The IDF has issued warnings to civilians in the areas where Hezbollah is embedded. Civilians will have seen with their own eyes Hezbollah forces and its weapons. We tell them clearly today, move out of harm's way. Our war is not with the people of Lebanon, though Hezbollah dominates Lebanon. It's time for the Lebanese government and army to dominate Lebanon rather than Hezbollah. We, for our part, are making every effort to reduce civilian casualties. No army in the world provides advanced warning when possible. And the message to the Hamas rapist army holding our hostages in Gaza is also very clear. As the Prime Minister has said, the pressure Israel puts on Hezbollah leaves Hamas more and more isolated. Now finally, on the eve of the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, the Prime Minister said that these are days of historic achievements, but also of major challenges. He, along with all Israelis, commended our men and women in uniform and all our security services who are excelling in defending our country, enabling our people to stand tall and with pride, with our heroic soldiers defending our country with dedication, with sacrifice and heroism. As the Prime Minister said, they've shown bucket loads of this dedication throughout the past year. To the families of the fallen, whose pain will be all the more acute at this time of families getting together, the Prime Minister said that your sacrifice has allowed the honor of living here. To our dear wounded, the Prime Minister sent best wishes for a speedy recovery and a full recovery. And to the dear families of our hostages, the Prime Minister and all Israelis stand with you. They're always first and foremost in our minds every moment of the day. We will not rest until we return all of them. Let them go now. And finally, the Prime Minister thanked the citizens of Israel, the reservists, their wives, husbands and partners, the mums and dads of our fighters, and the children for being steadfast throughout Israel's longest war. The Prime Minister said that we're in a war for our very existence. We will unite, we will go hand in hand and defeat our enemies. He ended with the traditional blessing. So ends a year and its curses, and with God's help, so begins a year and its blessings. May we all have a year, a good year, and a happy holiday. So that's the end of our briefing today. I will now take your questions, which you should put in the chat, together with your news outlet. Okay, first question I can see here is from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News. Firstly, is this now officially the third Lebanon war? Thank you, Joel, for that question. The name of our fight against Hezbollah, I think, is less important than our duty to push Hezbollah back behind the Litani River, as is clear in UN resolutions, for the area to be disarmed and for our people to be allowed home. That's what's important to us right now, Joel. The second question you ask is, did the US leak details of the operation? So thank you for that question, Joel. Let me remind you that Israel and the US stand shoulder to shoulder, side by side, as we have for decades, because of our shared values, because of the fact that we are a beacon of democracy hundreds of miles in every direction, and because of the fact that we share the enemies as well. It's Iran which is behind all of this menace against Israel. They're our enemy, but they're your enemy as well. They're the enemy of the West. They're the enemy of democracies. They're the enemy of freedom. We are fighting them here because we're in their backyard. But make no mistake, they're after you and other countries as well. So it's our duty to defend ourselves, and that's precisely what we will do. And the third question from Joel Pollack is, can you confirm reports that a Yazidi woman is being rescued from Gaza? Thank you for that, Joel. I haven't seen anything on that as yet, so I've got nothing to add. Okay, next question is from Gracie Jerome from Channel 4 News. You talk about a limited, targeted and localized, but what's your end game? How will you avoid getting bogged down in another protracted occupation? And you also ask, is an Israeli invasion of Lebanon that led to Hezbollah's creation? Why do you think this invasion will be successful? Thank you for that question, Gracie from Channel 4 News in the UK. We've said very, very clearly that this operation is limited, it is targeted, and it is localized. So it doesn't meet any of the criteria that you are encouraging me to do. We've got no interest in taking forward the ideas which you are suggesting to me. We have a duty to defend our northern border. We want our purpose in this entire operation is to get our people home. More than 60,000 of our people have been evicted from their homes. This is Israeli sovereign territory. This is our country. They are being not allowed to live in their own homes. This country has a duty to defend itself, a duty to return these people to their homes, and that is our people to their homes, and that is precisely what we will do. No more and no less. We say again, this is a limited, targeted, and localized operation. In contrast, of course, to Hezbollah, whose objective, if you would just only ask them, is to destroy this country. And I would say that's an unlimited objective. They wish to wipe this country off the face of the earth. I've seen some analysts compare this to the Cuban Missile Crisis when Russia moved missiles into Cuba as a threat to the US. This is an Iranian proxy that is sees the front line of their operation against this country to destroy this country. When they say it, they mean it. They wish to destroy this country. Hezbollah is their front line. Southern Lebanon is their front line. Wherever Iran gets involved becomes a failed state. That is why Lebanon is in the difficulty it is in. We have a duty to return our people to their homes. We have a duty to defend our northern border, and that is precisely what we are doing. It's a limited, targeted, and localized operation to defend this country. No more and no less. Next question here is from Fred Ager. You quote a family of one of the hostages. I feel a sort of personal failure that they are not here yet, says Yifat Zayla, the cousin of Shiri Bibas, during a visit to a kindergarten in Near Oz to mark 1 year since her cousins were taken. What updates can you give us on the hostage front? Thank you for that question, Fred. Look, the hostages are a key, returning the hostages, and they need to be set free right now. Let's be clear when you talk about updates. It is Hamas which hold our hostages. It is in Hamas's control. They are unfortunately probably surrounding Sinwar in some dungeon somewhere, one of the hellholes in Gaza created by Hamas. But, you know, when it comes to the negotiations for a hostage release deal, these negotiations continue. They are based on the principles which have been presented by the United States, and they're operating in a manner that will enable the return of our hostages, for Hamas to release our hostages while achieving the other goals of this war. Israel appreciates the efforts of the US and other mediators to dissuade Hamas from its continual refusal. It has been Hamas which has refused to release our hostages. They've never once, not once, have they received a visit from the Red Cross. Not once. Or the mighty United Nations, which issues proclamations every other day condemning this country. Not once have they had a visit from the United Nations. Indeed, not once has the United Nations condemned Hamas, or does the United Nations consider Hamas a terrorist entity? So the release of our hostages is a key part of our war aims. We're going to bring them all home, all 101 of them. It is our duty to do that, and it's precisely where all of our efforts are focused on. And let me add one more thing. The Prime Minister has said this very, very clearly, that together with all of our people here, we hear the anguish of the hostage families who have lost what's dearest to them. And the Prime Minister said this as well, that you cannot talk to them. We see them on our TV screens every night. We see them walking amongst us. These heart-rendering meetings that the Prime Minister's held, which the Prime Minister has described as simply heartbreaking. All of us here in Israel's government, we hear, we listen, and we do not judge as well, because we are doing everything in our power to return these hostages and to win this war. We're committed and will do everything in our power to get them home, 101 of them. They are being cruelly held by Hamas in captivity, the living and the deceased alike. They are men, they are women, they are children, they are the elderly, there are 13 women, there are 2 children. These negotiations, it's Hamas which keeps walking away, but they continue, because we'll do everything in our power to get them home and to get an agreement to get them free. Next question is from Fred Ager. Russia strongly condemns the attack on Lebanon and calls on the Israeli authorities to immediately cease hostilities, withdraw their troops from Lebanese territory, and engage in a search for peaceful ways to resolve Middle East conflict. The Russian Foreign Ministry says, what's your response to Russia's Foreign Ministry statement? Thank you for that question, Fred. We don't have a particular message for the government of Russia. Our message is to the entire world. We've made our case precisely why we're fighting in our north. It is to return our people to their homes. No country on earth would tolerate such a large portion of our country, about a quarter of our land. 60% of this country is desert, where there is a lower population. But in the places in this country where our large portions of our community live, this is an extremely small country, as I mentioned, about the size of Wales, about the size of New Jersey. We cannot have a quarter of our land. We shouldn't have to even explain ourselves. And I would think that all countries would appreciate, as they do, we believe, that this is our sovereign territory. Hezbollah have no other objective but to destroy this country and kill Israelis and Jews. That is their objective. This is not about fighting for Palestinians. Let's put that nonsense. Let's expose that argument for the falsehood which it is. Because if Lebanon truly wanted to support Palestinians that left Israel in 1948 as a result of the 1948 war, if the Lebanese wanted to help those Palestinian people, then they would have given them citizenship. But they haven't. Not one of them. So, or even close to, very, very few Palestinians have been given citizenship of Lebanon or other countries where Palestinians have left after the 1948 war for the establishment of their country, of this country. So let's dispense with this nonsense. No other country would put up with it. Our purpose is to return our people back to their homes and to prevent another October the 7th style massacre, but only one which is carried out by Hezbollah, a plan which we've exposed which we've shared with you today in this briefing, that's our objective, and that is our duty, and that we would expect every single country to respect our objectives in returning our people to their homes and protecting our northern border. Okay, that's the last question here today. Thank you for joining us. We wish you, if you're celebrating, a happy new year, Shana Tova. If you're celebrating, and in the meantime, please do stay safe, and we'll see you at the next briefing. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.